The views expressed by the host of this program documented to be almost always right, 98.8. No, 99.8. I meant to short myself there. Almost always right, 99.8% of the time. Great to have you with us, my friends. 800-282-2882 if you want to be on the program. And the email address, lrushmo@eibnet.com. Trey Gowdy is the chairman of this select committee questioning Hillary Clinton today about Benghazi and her emails. What I just saw was dramatic. Were you paying attention to it? What I just saw was dramatic. Trey Gowdy, how best to describe this? Because I don't want to oversell it. What I have learned when I watch things like this, when I think people have hit a grand slam home run, most people think, that was barely a single. But to me, Trey Gowdy just embarrassed the hell out of her. Trey Gowdy just exposed her. Trey Gowdy just illustrated how the Obama White House refused her permission to hire Sidney Blumenthal because they didn't trust him. She went ahead and hired him anyway. He got her to admit. Well, what was he doing when you hired him when the White House rejected him? Well, I don't know. He was a consultant for many entities. Well, what? Do you happen to know any of the entities? No, I don't, Congressman. Could he have been working for your husband? Oh, he was, in fact, working for my husband, Congressman. So he was working for the Clinton Foundation. Yes, that's right, Mr. Chairman. He started reading emails from Sidney Blumenthal to Hillary. And one of the emails was Blumenthal asking Hillary to further events on the ground in Libya that would help him with a business deal that he had. And she responds that she will. And Gowdy's asking her about it, and she gets this look of utter anger on her face and frustration. And gone is the smile and the warmth and the caring and the compassion. And it's replaced with Nurse Ratched at home in the cuckoo's nest. And one of the inmates has gotten loose, and that's Gowdy. She's got to somehow get him back in his cage. He continues to press, and every question he asks that she just, I don't know, Mr. Chairman. I don't know, Mr. Chairman. Is it true that Sid Blumenthal worked for your husband? Yes. Is it true that Sid Blumenthal worked at Media Matters? Silence. I don't know. I assume he did. Is it true that he worked for another left-wing group? I don't know, Mr. Chairman. I don't know. I can't know everything. Starts reading the emails. And when the break ended, he was reading to her a bunch of cables involving intelligence in various parts of the world. And he said, Mrs. Clinton, are you aware that Sid Blumenthal did not write any of those? He sent them to you. Well, I didn't know it at the time, but I was aware that maybe, but no. Congressman, well, do you know who did write them? Have you learned since who wrote them? The cables that he sent. Well, I don't know, Mr. Chair. I don't know. What difference does it make? She didn't say that, but that was the attitude. What difference does it make? And Gowdy's point was, your guy, the Obama administration refused to hire because they didn't trust him. You hire, and he's dealing with American intelligence agencies, and he's getting intel from them and passing it on to you, and you write him back saying, keep it coming, keep it coming. I guess, Mr. Chair, I don't know. I guess it happened that way. Now she's sitting there with her head in her hand, trying to look like this is irrelevant and boring. Now, I didn't hear any of the Jim Jordan other than the very beginning of it, but see, to me, this looks like huge points scored. This looks like a slam dunk that she has been exposed. And every time I think that happens in a situation like this, I later find out that nobody else thinks it was that good or bad, depending on your perspective. So I've always tried to exercise restraint in describing these things to you. I can't tell you how many times it's happened that I think during the Clarence Thomas, Anita Hill hearings or the John Roberts hearings, the Alito hearings, every time I thought that somebody scored a huge point exposing one of the Democrats on the committee or whatever, I later, in reading about it, find out that the professionals thought it was no big deal. So I thought, okay, well. So I've learned to try to temper my reaction, but this was I'll tell you how Gowdy started it, and this was really good too. One of the Democrats, I don't know who it was, accused Gowdy and the other Republicans of conducting a prosecution, that these hearings were prosecution. And Gowdy said, I want to respectfully disagree. This is not a prosecution. You and I both know what a prosecution is. A prosecution is you've already formed your opinion, and then you assemble the evidence and go out and prove it. We don't prosecute things that we don't know that happened yet. That's all this is an investigation, and we can't get witnesses up here. And when we get them up here, they lie, and they don't tell the truth. And if I'm a family member of one of the 4 people killed in Libya and I'm watching this go by, I'm embarrassed and I'm ashamed and I'm angry because the people will not talk. All we're trying to do is find out what really happened, and we're being stonewalled. This is not a prosecution. So he, as far as I was concerned, blew that Democrat on the committee, whoever it happened to be, out of the water as well, with what the objective was. Now, back one more thing on this act of chutzpah by Mrs. Clinton in Now Today saying at the hearing, I didn't do much email. I really didn't. I didn't even have a computer in my State Department office. Most of the business that I did, Secretary of State, was not done on email. Of course, everybody's scratching their heads. What? Right then, okay, if that's the case, why have an off-the-grid server at home, Mrs. Clinton? If email was so irrelevant, if you didn't even have a computer in your office, I think the fact that she admits that she didn't have a computer in her office, that tells us exactly the computer and the server were at home because she didn't want anybody knowing anything about what she was doing when it came to email and the use of her computer. And I'll guarantee you she's not happy these Sid Blumenthal emails are out there. They think they can overcome it and it isn't any kind of big deal, but she was exposed for that brief moment for what she is, an extreme leftist radical. And that's what's never said about this woman. The Republicans never say it about her. Political opponents never describe Hillary Clinton as she really is, because everybody's still scared to death of her. Something I still don't understand. But they are.